When you're a kid, you get asked all the time what you want to be when you grow up. I didn't think I was going to get to grow up. This is a drawing that I made in counseling with my therapist, the one that was helping me preparing to die. I don't think a 7-year-old little girl should be thinking about anything like that at all. I was always just so afraid of death and always just waiting for it to come around the corner. I was terrified. So I was a child and somebody was taking advantage of how innocent I was, ripping my innocence away from me and using it against me. And I think that that is just the worst and most disgusting form of manipulation. And it just brings me a lot of anger, honestly. Right. This is Teresa. She looks scary to me. She looks evil. Like there's no emotion. This woman had no emotion for me, her child. I ultimately started to blame myself. I did something wrong because the one person in my life who was supposed to love me didn't. If my own mother couldn't love me, then who could? That love is supposed to be so genuine and so pure. I was born in August of 1995, and I grew up in a very small town called Urbana, Ohio. In my family, I had 5 half-sisters and 1 half-brother. I was the youngest of all of us. My dad, he was an incredible father. Him and I did everything together. He was my best friend, but he was a very busy man with his job, and I knew that he was essentially the one supporting our family. Teresa Milbrand is my biological mother. I wholeheartedly believe that my dad loved his wife and trusted her like anyone would in that kind of a relationship. And with him working, she was my primary caregiver. And so I think that he really, truly just trusted her like he should have. I think I really started to want to call her Teresa because I don't ever feel like she was a mother to me. She was the reason I lost everything in my life and was basically abandoned. And I don't feel like she deserves that title. I always kind of explained her as like Jekyll and Hyde, as like she, in a public setting, she was the mother that we wanted. She was loving and gave us hugs and held our hands. But then like behind closed doors, it was, you stayed away from her. I remember like falling off of my bike one time and she was the only one that was home and I ran inside with a scraped knee. And I remember hurting really bad. And she, was sitting on the couch and she kind of looked at me and told me, like, you know where the first aid kit is, you know where things are. I don't know why you're crying.
Doesn't even look that bad.
She didn't care. It was always just very an emotional detachment is what it felt like. She didn't play with me. She didn't want to have any type of interaction whatsoever with me at all. She really didn't do baths, showers, putting us to bed, things like that. We were kind of always just fending for ourselves.
You need to grow up.
I do remember feeling like there was something wrong with me, that she couldn't give me that kind of love. You know, I would see my other friends with their moms, and their moms were so involved and so like interactive with them and just very visibly loving with like hugs and holding hands. And that was never the mother that I saw. And the only times I really felt like she did was if other people were around, like visibly watching. And that was kind of tough because it was a back and forth of, you know, do you do this because you love me now, or do you actually feel this way? It was very like hot and cold, and it was hard to get a grip on like which version of her was the real version. What I remember of her most is the walking on eggshells, not wanting to do anything wrong, leaving anything out of place, just honestly doing anything that you felt like could set her off. She would be normal, and then she would throw huge fits over things.
Who did this? Huh?
There was one time that we walked into the kitchen and she had a spoon that was left in a bowl of milk in the sink, and she brought it in and was like whipping it around.
Is this acceptable to you? Is it?
It was like gross and had milk on it. And she's like, this is disgusting. Do you think I have the time to clean this up? No, this is your job. You clean it up. And was going about how everybody was lazy and she's not the only person that lives here and quit acting like this, and made a huge deal out of it. And it was just out of nowhere. And it just became so frequent that it was almost normal. Like, you just became accustomed to Teresa's tantrums. And then she broke a coffee mug because it was left on the counter.
How's this?
She just dropped it on the floor. Quite honestly, me nor my siblings seemed to want to be around her.
Make yourselves useful. I'm done.
A lot of the time we would spend in our rooms because we were afraid to mess anything up or to have any form of interaction with her, because we knew that if we did anything at all, she'd find a way to, you know, belittle us or yell at us. And it was just not something we wanted to do or deal with. So in this photo, I want to say I was like 4 or 5, and it was Halloween. This photo makes me kind of emotional a little bit. It's looking at this, like the happy Hannah, the little Hannah that I often fight for, just was so carefree and so happy. Talking about the little version of me is like, that's a tough one for me. I feel like it's just like, I want to hug her. I wish I could just squeeze her and tell her that although things were going to be really, really hard, you get to be that again, and you'll get to be able to be the happy Hannah again. You can tell I was just like a happy-go-lucky little girl, and she had absolutely no idea what was coming, and it was coming so soon. I just remember Teresa almost like switching to a different person, and it was just more emotionally there for me. Like if I was crying, it wasn't figure it out on your own. It was like the coddling and the hugs and the, oh, it's okay, I'll take care of you kind of thing.
How's that?
She started to help with like bath time, which was never a thing. Whereas this now was like, she was very much in there helping me brush my teeth and also like putting me to bed and tucking me in and laying there with me. And that was just something that she's never done before.
Time for bed.
And I remember thinking, like, what changed? And I remember also thinking it had to have been me. Like, maybe I'm different and maybe now I'm more lovable. And so that's why she's being this way. But I was happy with it. It was what I always wanted. Now I get to have this love and attention from her, and I'm making her happy. And I'd never seen her happy before. And it felt good. Looking back and knowing that, like, it was all a lie and thinking about the person who's supposed to love me unconditionally was beginning to essentially ruin or destroy her child's life. It makes me physically ill. And for her to be able to finish what she was doing and get a good night's sleep like that, it's disgusting to me. Like, it truly is. Teresa was very much the person that cared about her self-image. And I think that she wanted people to look at her and she liked that kind of attention. She used to take me to department stores to get professional pictures. She was like showing me off to everyone, and that wasn't something she did before. She would be like, "Oh, isn't my daughter beautiful?" I remember a woman had complimented how beautiful I was and was talking to me about my dress and the things I was wearing. And that was when Teresa like interjected and said, "Oh yeah, she's beautiful. She's my $1 million baby." She always referred to me as like her $1 million baby. She's gonna make me so much money someday, I know it. I had never really liked to be the center of attention. I feel like I was being forced into doing it, but I did it to make her happy. Doing what makes her happy is what's gonna get the love I want. So I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that she loves me. It makes me sick thinking that she saw me as a price tag and not as her baby. Looking back, I really feel like that was the start of her plan. I think that that was the start of her realizing, like, oh, I could make a lot of money off of this child, and like, I'm gonna see how far I can absolutely take this. There was a lot of interactions that I witnessed with her and my siblings. She used to call my older sister Cinderella and would tell her that she was only good for cleaning and she wasn't good for anything else. She used to call her like ding dong and stupid, very like generic, mean, just nasty names, and would laugh and think it was funny when it was visibly hurting her. I remember her always saying very belittling things about her to kind of almost create this wedge that she wanted between the two of us. And my older sister decided that she had enough and she was going to go live with her biological father. My sister was upstairs in her bedroom packing her things. Her and I were very close, and I didn't want her to leave, and I was begging her not to go and like crying and telling her to stay.
Don't leave me alone with her.
That really set Teresa off.
I have to.
She didn't like it. She felt like she was losing some sort of control with her.
You want to leave? You want to act like an adult, make decisions for yourself?
And Teresa came in the room and was taking my sister's things and was throwing them in a trash bag and telling her that she wasn't to interact with me anymore.
You get nothing!
And she was ripping up pictures of like my sister and I together. And she looked at my sister and said to her, "I need you to look at Hannah and tell her that you don't love her anymore." And she wouldn't do it. And so Teresa started just screaming at the top of her lungs at her. And I remember I got very scared. I remember running to my dad, who had just gotten home about in the middle of all of this happening. And I ran straight to him as soon as I heard his voice.
What's wrong?
I was standing behind his legs because I was scared. My mom's yelling, and she picked that mirror up and threw it at me and my dad. there was this loud crash. And I remember looking back and seeing it stuck in the wall. Glass everywhere, just shattered everywhere, and thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just threw that at the both of us.
What the hell's the matter with you?
My dad was helping my sister get all of her things, and he was consoling her. I remember sitting in the corner, terrified, like crying and shaking and not knowing, like, how long is this going to last? When he was around, it was a sense of relief. You only had a certain amount of time until he was gone, and anticipating him leaving was like one of the things I hated the most, is knowing he was going to leave and I was going to have to be with her again for several days without him was extremely nerve-wracking because he seemed to be the peacekeeper. I didn't understand anything that the doctor and Teresa were talking about. And we left, and I remember Teresa saying on the phone that something is wrong with Hannah and you need to come to the house immediately. Once we get home, there were several people there. Teresa's mother was there, and her husband, my grandfather, was there. My dad was there. I sat and just kind of waited to find out what was happening. And she tells all of us that they did a CAT scan and they found a small spot on the base of my spine, the tip, like the size of the tip of a pen. And they believe that it was leukemia.
Our little girl is sick.
And everybody just got very emotional or very quiet. I remember my dad crying immediately and also trying to hold it in. And I was very confused. I have never heard of that word before, so I had no idea what that meant. It was terrifying. My dad kind of stood up. He came over and he's like, why don't you and I take a break from all of this?
Let's take a walk.
I remember asking him, like, Dad, what does leukemia mean and why is everybody so sad? And he said, leukemia is like cancer. And I understood cancer because I had lost somebody in our family from that. And I knew what that meant. And I was like, but I don't feel sick. Like, I feel as though I just have a stuffy nose. How is that cancer? And he was like, well, it's not for you to understand. We'll figure this out together and it'll be okay. And I remember sitting there, things just flying through my mind and wondering, like, what does this mean? And am I gonna die? Like, I know that that's what happens if you have this, and am I gonna die? Gosh. So this is a picture of me during my illness and my dad and Teresa. This is at my birthday party. I want to say it was my 6th birthday party. And yeah, this is heavy. I feel like when I look at this, I see so much sadness in that little girl's face. She looks scared. It doesn't feel like a genuine smile. It looks like I was doing it because I had to. Hannah, and this looks like the drained of life version. But like looking at Teresa, she looks so happy, and it makes me very sick. And this giant Band-Aid on my chest that is just so sad. I wish I could just go back and fight for little Hannah. She needed somebody to fight for her, and I feel like I wish I could. I wish I could protect her and just let her know that it was going to be okay, that this wasn't going to be the end, although I thought it was. It wasn't. Teresa had worked in the medical field. I don't know like the full degree of her healthcare background, but I do remember her being a home health nurse. Teresa was explaining to me, at this appointment, you're going to have chemo treatments. And when you have chemo treatments, you're going to feel kind of nauseous and tired, having headaches. And then also explaining to me that after so many amount of chemo treatments, that I would lose my hair. And it was just so abrupt. We just went from, I have a cold, to now you have leukemia, and it just didn't seem real. And I was devastated. Teresa was essentially saying, I know that you're afraid of the doctor. So when we go to the doctor, I'm going to give you medicine to help you get through these appointments. And I didn't think anything of it. And then she'd given me this little blue pill, and I remember it tasting absolutely horrible. And she was like, okay, this is going to make you sleepy, but you won't remember any of the doctor's appointments. It'll all be okay. I'll take care of you. And it would be maybe like 5 or 10 minutes after I would take the medicine, I would get extremely tired and I couldn't fight it, and I would fall asleep. And time would go by and I'd wake up very groggy. Oh, like, you're awake. We went to the doctor and this is what happened. I accepted all of that she was saying. I knew in my heart, I thought that she was doing what was right and she was going to take care of me, right? She's my mother. She's going to take care of me. So I didn't ask any more questions about the medication. It was really early in the morning. I was getting ready to go to school and I needed to brush my teeth, and I had turned the light on to the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror and I had basically no hair. And I remember screaming.
Mom!
And Teresa came running into the bathroom and was like, what's wrong? And I was like, oh, my hair is gone. What happened? Where did it go? And she had said that, oh, I told you this was going to happen.
Hannah, we talked about this.
I remember kind of like freezing and feeling like, this isn't real. Like, that I knew that I was going to lose it, but it was like I had figured I would lose it in chunks and I would have been more prepared, and like I would have known it was happening. And for me to just, I went to bed with a head full of hair and I wake up and now it's just in patches, was such a like shock that I just couldn't understand. And it was devastating. I just was begging her, like, I don't want to go to school. You can't make me do this anymore. Can I stay home? Please don't make me go there. Please don't make me go through this anymore. And I don't want people to make fun of me and tell me I look like a little boy. I don't want that. So I went to school and I cried the whole way there. And when we got there, I walked into my classroom and everybody was staring at me. And I remember in that moment thinking, I never want to have to come back here again. And I knew I was going to have to relive that feeling every single day. No matter what I said, no matter how I reacted, no matter how heartbroken, devastated, emotional I was, it didn't matter. All that mattered was what she said, and what Teresa said went. So I think at that point, honestly, I stopped fighting back. One thing that honestly kind of bothered me was that we were going to so many benefits. One of the girls I was friends with, her dad was a firefighter, and they had like a spaghetti dinner for us. And people came and ate, and all the money went towards my family. And then I remember going into public places, there was always a coffee can with like this awful picture of me that people could donate to. It was like, I couldn't escape. No matter where I was, it was like, it was always right there, like haunting me. And also it's hard as a kid that we're getting all this money, but like nothing is changing and nothing is happening. I'm just, that people are donating all this money and I'm just staying sick. And that was very confusing for me. I started seeing a therapist for death counseling when it was probably about 6 or so months into the illness. And Teresa started saying that the end was becoming more like becoming near, that I was getting worse, and that death probably wasn't far away. And I remember her asking me to draw how it felt the day that I found out about the tumor or the cancer, and what I remember, how I was feeling. To see that I was like such sadness, like there's so much sadness in this, and that I like at such a young age was so intuitive in remembering how hard and emotional that day was, but also so confusing. It's tough.
Ma'am, she's sick. She hit her head.
My dad had gone straight to the nurse's station, was like, you need to help her. She has leukemia. She's very ill. And this is where she goes for treatments. We're not from here. Just kind of very much so running through everything so quickly, so hysterically. Then they left me in this little room that I was in, and they were getting ready to prep me for stitches. And I was crying, and I wanted him in there.
Where's my dad?
I was yelling at the nurses saying, like, don't touch me until I have my dad outside of the room. You could visibly tell that Teresa and my dad were arguing, and I could hear vaguely what they were saying. And I remember my dad saying to Teresa, they can't find any record of Hannah. What's going on?
I can't remember every place that we stopped.
In that moment, I don't think I was thinking anything. I just remember looking at him and seeing how terrified he was, and it scared me. She was angry. Her hands were going. Her face was getting red. And that was when Teresa said, I know that she sees certain specialists. They can be kind of hard to locate. Hannah was in an emergency situation. She was kind of going around the actual answer. And I remember she was very anxious.
They don't have a single file on our daughter. How do you explain that?
Relax. Okay.
Kind of felt like she was just grasping at whatever she could. I think this was the moment that my dad truly realized something was really wrong, and he was about to be in a very bad situation.
What have you done, Hannah?
But wasn't sure what he was going to do or how to handle it or what to say or what to believe. I think at that moment he realized something wasn't right. It seemed to be like everything after that moment was just like chaos. It was very soon after that, everybody knew the truth. my grandmother had come to pick me up from school. When we had gotten home, my dad was anxiously pacing the floor and chain smoking, and I had never seen him act like that.
Hey, sweetie.
He said, I have to tell you 2 things. And he was like, and some of them are going to be hard, but some of them are good things. And I was like, okay. And he was like, so what do you want me to tell you first? And I was like, the good things. And he said, well, you're not sick. And I remember being so confused and relieved and happy and sad at the same time because it was so confusing. What do you mean?
You're gonna be okay.
But that makes me have to tell you the sad thing, and that is that your mom has done something really bad. And she has lied, and she had taken money from people, and people are really angry and upset with her because she told a lie about you and that you are sick when you're not. And she made it all up. And as a child, wrapping my mind around that was impossible. And I was so happy that I wasn't going to die. Like, I couldn't imagine, like, I was so happy that it wasn't going to end. I wasn't going to die. But why did my mom do this to me? Why did she lie about this? And for what? Trying to understand the reasoning behind it was just something at that age I could not wrap my brain around. And I just remember really focusing on being happy and like, I'm not gonna die. I can go back to my normal life. Everything's gonna be fine now. I was just, I'm not dying. And that's all I care about. I wasn't sick anymore. Everything was gonna go back to normal. And then all of a sudden, I'm just ripped away from my family again. The social worker that ended up taking me away from my father that night, she essentially took me to a foster family. I was being taken away from them, and there was nothing I could do to stop it from happening. And it was so scary. And I think I remember it being in that home and thinking, waiting for my dad, that, dying seemed almost like it would have been the better option at that point, because it was like, I knew what heaven was beautiful. This was not. This was like my worst nightmare. It was like I was living my biggest fear. After a few weeks of being at my foster home, my foster family let me know that both of my parents had been arrested. They didn't say that they were charged with anything. They just told me that they were both arrested and put in jail. As far as I know, my dad's attorney was wanting me to stand trial and kind of defend my father, but my father decided that I had been through enough, that I was too young to stand such a grand trial. I don't think there was anybody really in the community who believed that either one of them was innocent. I think they were grouped together very quickly. As far as the crimes that were committed, I feel like Teresa is definitely the one who would be fully responsible, and I think that he is innocent in this situation. I feel like Teresa knew that my father wasn't involved, and I think she had the opportunity to speak up and say that. But I think that she didn't want to essentially go down for this by herself. It's so easy to believe on an outside looking in perspective. There's no way he has no idea. And I think she knew that. And I think all along, that was her plan. I think she knew all along that essentially she wouldn't have to go down by herself and it wouldn't all be on her. And I think that it made it easier for her to do those things. Mm. All right, I'm gonna need a second on this. I'm sorry. All right, I'm gonna put this over. I can't look at it. I'm sorry. All right, well. Looking at that makes me so sad. To think that how scared he had to have been. And how sad he had to have been. He didn't do anything wrong. And essentially, he knew that he was gonna have to spend the next 5 years of his life not watching his daughter grow up. After just finding out that she wasn't gonna die, he was essentially losing her anyways. It breaks my heart for him. I know that was a really hard time for him. And I often, sometimes I feel a sense of guilt, honestly, to think that he essentially went to prison because he was trying to protect me. And that's the right thing to do, he did right by me and he was just trying to protect me. But sometimes, I feel guilty. I wish he wouldn't have done that. I wish he would have let me have the opportunity to try to save him too. If I had to seriously be honest about her end goal of all of it, and I really think what she was trying to get out of it is, I really, truly believe that Teresa was out to kill me. I think I couldn't tell you why. I wish I did. I wish I knew why. It's a question that will forever haunt me. I do think she was willing to sacrifice my life for anything that was going to make hers better. I think that she wanted everything for herself. Everything was always about her. And I think that me as a sacrifice didn't seem like a sacrifice to her. It seemed like the only way to get what she needed. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It is the purest form of being evil. Like, she truly just was an evil person. I don't think it feels fair at all. I think that, if I'm going to be completely honest, I think she deserved a much longer sentence. I truly feel like I serve a life sentence to what she did to me. I fight that battle every day. I fought that battle for a long time, and I probably will for the rest of my life. And for her to only spend 6 years, I just feel like it's not fair. It doesn't seem right. And it's kind of scary to think that, like, she just gets to live a life like nothing ever happened. It's really unfair. My father and I are extremely close. He is my very best friend. I could not have gotten to the point that I am today without his love, his support, his undying love for me. He has never wavered in who he is. And to this day, he is the most amazing father, and even better, he's the most amazing grandfather to my babies. I now have a beautiful family, a loving husband, and finding him was something I never thought would happen. And I think my ultimate fear was, could I be a mother? What was it like to be a mother? I never had one. I didn't know what that looked like. And then I had both of my beautiful children, and never for a second did I question what it would be like to be a mother. It was so instinctual, and I have never felt such love. But I know in my heart that God gave me the children I have to prove to me that I am capable of so much love, and I am a fantastic mother and a wonderful wife. I have just such a beautiful life. I am so blessed to have the things that I do, and I never thought that I would have this life. You know, little me never thought that we would even make it past 6. And now I am creating a life so much further past that. And it's amazing.
It's very clear that he has the personality traits to become a serial killer.
Hanover County 911.
The man above us just threw the woman over the balcony. She's laying on the ground now. She's very bloody.
It's heartbreaking. No kid is supposed to watch that happening. That is a mugshot of Matt. I don't know who that is. I don't recognize that person. He looks like he ran away from an insane asylum. It's very clear that every time he has done something violently, it has escalated. When he's released and his actions escalate, I think he has the personality traits to become a serial killer. I really do.
Hanover County 911.
Our neighbors in the apartment above us, they're fighting, and we need help right now, please. And an ambulance, please.
Ma'am.
The man above us just threw the woman over the balcony. She's laying on the ground now. She's very bloody.
When the ambulance got there, they were able to see a bunch of stab wounds on me. It was in my hands, my arm, under my arm, the back of my head. He got my artery in my neck, my left back, and they were able to count about 40. And I'm screaming. Somebody needs to call 911 because I'm dying. I grew up in Oslo, in Norway. I think it was about my second year of high school. Everybody else was preparing to go to university, college, that kind of stuff. And I just felt like that really wasn't my path. I needed to experience what was out there. I finished high school, and about 7 weeks later, I was on a plane to North Carolina. I started working as a promoter for a nightclub, and on my way out the door, Matthew was standing and opening the door for people who were entering and exiting. He worked as a bouncer, the security crew. He was tall and he was very muscular. I felt like he was naturally funny. he was smooth with it, and it catches you by surprise. As time went on, the more we spent time together, the more it felt like it got a little bit easier to find things in common once we got to know each other more. It felt like I had found somebody that I could see myself with long term, and I thought we clicked well. Looking back now, I feel like I was getting to know somebody who was playing a role. I was falling in love with somebody that didn't exist, pretty much. It was one of those nights that he was working at the club, and he had gotten really rough with one of the guys that was at the club having a good time. And apparently somebody at the club started videotaping this whole scenario. And Matt got his hands on this video and decided to show it to me.
Take a look at this.
As almost like a look what I did. And I just remember looking at it like horrified.
Oh.
Wondering what in the world did this guy do to deserve this attack? It bothered me because of the way that he acted when he showed it to me. It was strange. Like, why are you proud of this? And he just kind of laughed off like, oh, you weren't there. You didn't know. Like, he thought it was funny. And I was sitting there like, huh, that's not okay. This is not normal behavior. I think he used his job as a cover so he could let out his aggression. It became a way for him to do what he really wanted to do, which was exert power and control. At the time, I saw that as like he's keeping us safe, kind of, because he's removing people that shouldn't be there. I just didn't see him using that kind of force on me, because in my head, I'm like, but he loves me, so he wouldn't do that to me. I was wrong. So I parked and walked up to the house. I opened up the door and just walked straight in. And immediately I'm met with somebody I don't recognize.
Hi. Hi.
I immediately thought, oh, this must be one of the roommates. And I introduced myself to her. I shook her hand. I told my name and she said hers. And I asked where Matthew is. And she said he's sleeping. I'm like, well, I know he's up. Why would you go to sleep right after you invite somebody over to your house? Strange. And so I was like, all right, I'll just go grab him. And he was like on his stomach, sleeping, snoring. And I knocked on the side of the door, like, hello?
Matt.
And he jumped up. I'd never seen somebody get to their feet so quick in my life. Like, he was completely surprised that I was there. He said, why are you here? What do you mean, why am I here? And the lady that just greeted me at the door comes yelling down the hallway. He is stopping her, like restraining her from going at me. And he pushes her physically all the way back towards the living room where the front door is. I don't know what's going on. It was just a lot of screaming and yelling. Obviously, I now kind of gather like, this must be somebody that he's involved with. Apparently, she has texted me through his phone. So he never invited me over there. So all of this information is like piling on top of each other. I don't know what to do. I want to leave. I don't want to be there anymore. And she's screaming, "I'm pregnant. You're hurting me. Stop. You're hurting our baby." I don't know who this lady is, and I need him to stop hurting her. And so I take a couple of steps towards him and I punched him in the face. I don't know why I felt like I needed to do that. It just felt like it was the right thing to do in the moment. And I regretted it right away. He lets her go and she runs down the hallway. And he turns to me and he says, "Leave."
Get out! If you ever come here again, you're dead.
He says, "If I ever find you here again, I'll kill you." Matt had never looked at me like that before, with cold, evil eyes. So that was scary, and I could not get out of that house any faster. I mean, looking back, I should have probably realized what was going on. I should have seen the bigger picture. He was obviously dating multiple people. He was living a double life. After that whole mess of a situation, I just decided to end all communication with him. I deleted his number. I deleted pictures, text messages. I just didn't want anything to do with him because what I had seen scared me. And I really tried to avoid him as best as I could. So the next 2 weeks was no communication between him and I. So we met up at a deli shop for lunch, and he explained everything. He said that she was just somebody that he was casually seeing, and he didn't really want a relationship with this lady. But now she's pregnant, so he kind of have to deal with her, is how he laid it out to me. He said that he shouldn't have reacted that way. He apologized. He said that he didn't want to hide anything anymore and just be completely open and honest with everything. I was naive to the whole dating scene. I thought that once you date somebody, you date one person, but that's what I thought. Like something as cliche as like watching the TV shows and the movies and stuff, I figured, well, that's what the dating culture is like in the US. I didn't know it at the time, but it's very casual. You can date multiple people. I think I was willing to give him another chance because I also developed feelings for this man. It was a very complicated situation. I was willing to give him another chance because I didn't want him to be out of my life. I talked about this with Matt, and he kind of jokingly said, "Well, we could just get married." I was like, "No, that's crazy." And he said, "Well, then you don't have to leave." And so the more we talked about it, the more I thought, well, I guess we could. We're in a relationship. We want to be together. It started making more sense. So I eventually said, all right, fine. I was really, really young. I didn't see the consequences of being married to somebody. Looking back now, I can tell that this was not a sustainable relationship. After we got married, we started living together, and he expected me to deal with house chores. He was very adamant about me wearing more modest clothes. As time went on, I felt like he was getting like a shorter fuse. He had less patience for little things. It was really frustrating. So everything I did, I had to go through like, how would he react if I did this? Or what would he think if I wore this? Or how would he think if I said this or confronted him with this or that? It became a really like an evil circle of those thoughts going through my head, like, I better not do anything to set him off. I think I didn't want the embarrassment of having a marriage not work out. So I didn't tell my family anything because of that shamefulness. I didn't want to be a failure. I didn't want to be the one that had a failed marriage because, I mean, I chose to be married to this person. It was a shock because I didn't know how it was that possible. And so I figured maybe I missed a pill somewhere, and I was not happy about it. I remember reacting like, oh no, what now? The fact that we were in such a rocky place in our marriage, there was no room really for a child to get in the middle of everything that we were in. When I told him that I was pregnant, I called him after my appointment, and he was at work, and it's really odd the way he reacted. He just said, "Oh, I knew." Like, how did you know exactly? It was very odd. And I said, "Okay, what do we do now?" He was like, "I guess we're having a baby." And then he had to go because he had to go back to work. So he hung up the phone. And that was that conversation. When he was born, I felt kind of abandoned. I felt like I was in it alone. And I had just turned 22 at this point. I was still pretty young. I was really unsure about having a child with you to begin with. And I told him, like, why can't you be the kind of parent to Eli as you are with the previous child?
I need more help from you.
You look like you've got it under control.
And he said, well, you know, I kind of wanted you to get pregnant anyways. I already knew you were pregnant when you told me. And I said, yeah, I remember you said that on the phone, and I don't really know why. How would you have known that?
Don't tell me you didn't notice.
He said, you don't know that you were off the pill for like months? He had been messing with my birth control pills. And that I was taking placebo pills instead of the actual hormone pills. And that is how I got pregnant, and that's how he knew that I was pregnant. You honestly didn't know? And he's like, again, flipping it like I'm the idiot that didn't figure it out. And I said, are you for real? Are you messing with me? And he said, no, I wanted you to have a baby. And I just felt so betrayed. I mean, the thought of him just going through my birth control pills and being so insane to think of doing that to somebody. Looking back now, it really just makes sense why he wanted me to be pregnant. It was another way for Matt to control me. He really was in control of every aspect of my life. But what I didn't know at the time is Matt is a psychopath. And it just got worse. One night we were at home, and again, we had gotten into some sort of dispute over something that he had found on my phone in one of my conversations with one of my friends in my mom group. And obviously things hadn't really gotten a whole lot better at this point. And he was really upset about the fact that I had talked to my friend about our issues in our marriage. But he was so angry, and we're in the room, and Eli's in the room with us.
I need to be allowed to have friends.
Why are you telling people that I'm abusive?
And the baby's awake, and he wants to be picked up. And Matt's not allowing me to go pick my child up because we're having this very angry conversation. And he picks my child up, and in the same breath, he comes over towards me, and he chokes me out while he's still holding my child. And I black out. And I don't know how long I'm out for. But I wake up to him breathing into my mouth, like trying to give me CPR. And my child is screaming. He's crying. He wants his mom, and I can't get to him. My neck is sore. Everything hurts. And I'm so shocked at the whole situation that I don't really know what to do with myself. And he just kind of he hands me my child, and he walks out to the freezer and gets me ice and just throws it in my lap and says, "Here you go." And then walks out of the room and starts playing video games. Like, what the hell? That's insane. Who does that? And that's when I realized, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm in trouble. This is a family photo of me and Matt and baby Eli. This was taken right after we had celebrated his first birthday. I think about 2 months after the choking incident. It's weird looking back on that. I can see how fake my smile is. We were not doing good in this photo. And I really didn't want to do this photo shoot, but he insisted. I think I'm just in survival mode here. When you have a little person who's completely dependent on you, you kind of put their needs ahead of anybody else's. He came first no matter what. He knew exactly how to use our child as a pawn in order to get me to do things, because I would do anything for that child. He was like, well, you know, nobody's forcing you to stay. You can just leave. But you're not taking Eli with you. He's staying. You can just go, but you're not taking my son. That's what he would say to me. And I'm not leaving Eli with a psychopath. It's not happening. I mean, at this point, I'm still doing everything on my own. I don't have family around. I'm not an American citizen. Keeping everything outside of court, I thought was in my son's best interest. So I stayed. One evening, I put Eli to bed. I went to bed, and I think I wake up around 3, 4 a.m., and I'm trying to find my phone, because I remember I brought my phone in the room with me and put it under my pillow. And now it's not there anymore. And I just, you have that instant feeling of like, this knot in your stomach. And I step into the living room. And he's sitting in his office chair. And I tell him, hey, do you have my phone? And he goes, yeah, it's right here. Like, no, completely monotone. No, he wasn't angry or anything at this point. But that's the thing with him, is he will get eerie calm before he reacts quickly. You just don't see it coming. And he grabs my phone in front of me, and he goes into my phone, opens it up, and pulls up the conversation. He must have gone into my social media and opened up the message conversation with my friend's friend, and confronted me with it. And he was holding the phone and showing me. He said, "What the is this?" And I could tell, like, his hand is shaking. And the next thing that comes is a punch to the side of my face. It's quite hard. And I fall over in the couch, and he's punching me in the back. And all I can do is really cover my head as best as I can. I'm scared. I just want him to stop. And he stops. And he says, "Get your ass up. Go clean yourself up." And I'm shaking uncontrollably at this point, and I'm walking into the bathroom. And everything hurt. My face hurt. And I had broken ribs. He had broken my nose. And then to add insult to injury, he pushed me down again so that I fall into the bathtub. It was just his last little dig at me. I felt like I was just worthless to him. Like, he doesn't see me as a human being at this point. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. He kept me on house arrest for about 2 weeks, until the swelling had gone down. I remember my friends couldn't contact me for a while because he had shut my phone off. And once I finally got it back after a couple of days, he did warn me about not telling anybody. He acted like I deserved it, like I was the one that provoked the incident because of disrespecting him and his reputation, is what he told me. He did imply that if I ever did something like that again, I'm asking for much worse. And that scared me. I think at this point, I'm thinking I need to do whatever I can to protect me and my son in this situation. Now I can see the pattern of, like, this is just not going to work. It's January 6th, 2021. And I'm in the kitchen trying to prepare food for my son when I heard a loud bang at my door. And in the next second, My estranged husband is standing in front of me. Eli screams. We didn't know what was happening. And I didn't recognize him. I mean, I knew who it was, but I didn't recognize his eyes anymore. He looked like he had escaped from like an insane asylum. And then all of a sudden, he is beating me to a pulp on the ground. He is attacking me with a pocket knife and repeatedly stabbing me in my arm, my neck, in front of my son. My 3-year-old son is standing in the kitchen watching his dad stab his mom over and over and over while he's screaming for help. And you're in such a shock. You can't even feel any pain. I don't remember being in pain at all. I just thought he was beating me up. I didn't know that I was bleeding. And he goes over to my son and picks him up. And he's leaving out the door. I just remember thinking I gotta go and get my son. Like, he can't leave with my son. I just knew I needed to go after him. I needed to put myself as the target instead of Eli. I get on my feet and I could tell something is going on with my neck. Like, I feel like some kind of puncture wound. And I ran out the door after him, and I'm banging on the neighbor's door and I'm screaming, somebody needs to call 911 because I'm dying. And he gets to the bottom of the stairs with my son in his arms. And he sees that I'm standing up there and I'm still alive. It probably shocked him because he probably thought that I was down for the count. And he quickly hands my son over to somebody on the first floor. And he runs back up the stairs towards me, knocks me out. And that's the last thing I remember. I remember vividly the last thought that I had before I blacked out was my son. And so that was the first thought that I had in my head when I was conscious. All I really cared about was like, is my son okay? Is he unharmed? And then they explained that my son was doing okay. He was in a trauma foster family. When they finally took the breathing tube out, there was a team of doctors that came into my room. And it was so surreal because they had to explain to me what happened to my body because I didn't know what my body had been through. And I guess I had this secondary shock of like, I'm sorry, what? I'm stabbed? What? And everything that happened after was told by witnesses. He stabbed me over and over all over my body again. And he picks me up like a sack of potatoes over his head and throws me over the balcony. And my head goes right into the concrete. And my son is watching all this. And he's literally watching his mom dying in front of him. And I'm apparently trying to get back on my feet. And I'm calling out for my son. I don't remember any of this. This is what my neighbors have told me afterwards. And I'm trying to find my son. And then I collapse into the flower bed, and that's where the ambulance picks me up from and start life-saving measures. I later learned from the investigators that they had caught him the same night, a couple of hours later, at his dad's residence, about an hour away. I have no memory, no recollection of anything. And the thing that bothers me probably the most is that my son, he was watching all of this happening, and he saw a lot more than I can remember. And that's really tough, because I can't take that away from him. And he was just a baby. He had just turned 3 years old, and you're not supposed to see that when you're 3. No kid is supposed to watch that happening, especially, watching your parents do something like that. It's heartbreaking. The day after, so this is probably day number 3. Oh, this is really tough. I was able to have a phone call with Eli, and he didn't recognize me on the phone, and I had to tell him, "It's Mommy, I'm in the hospital," and his little voice said on the phone, "You're not my mommy because my mom's dead." And that was really tough. I remember getting off the phone and asking the nurses, "Could you please just sedate me?" Because it was too much. It was really, really hard to hear your son tell you that you're dead. And nobody teaches you. I mean, who teaches you how to deal with stuff like that, I didn't know how to handle it. It was really, really tough. This brings up a lot of feelings. Good feelings, obviously. These are happy tears. This was my first meeting with Eli right outside of the hospital the same day I was released. They released me from being able to go back home. And we had been separated for 10 very, very long days. And all I wanted to do was to pick him up, but I couldn't. And I was just really happy to see him again after all that time. I was very overwhelmed. It was a lot of overwhelming feelings and just gratefulness. Just one thing different 10 days prior, and I wouldn't have been able to have my son. And I was able to bring him home and kind of start our new normal. And I was really, 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 really happy. Yeah, this is a really good memory.
Do you believe in miracles?
I do. I do believe in miracles. It's hard not to when you go through something like that. Nobody had expected me to really make it through the night, just based on how much blood they assumed that I lost. And it was quite a lot. But it's by a miracle that I made it. I don't know why I survived. I really don't. No, there must be a purpose. I think my son had a big role, played a big part of why I made it and why I'm sitting here today. It's because of my son. I am so glad and so grateful that my son is nothing like his biological father. He loves to be happy and make other people happy. He is just the light of everybody's life. He makes the world a better place. It's been a process trying to take back control of my life, and it's going good. I'm on a good path right now. I have a lot of great people around me, my family, my friends who have become family. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I'm living life to the fullest, and I'm taking full advantage of being given a second chance at life. So I think that's something really beautiful to take out of this situation, that I've lost a lot, but I've gained so much more. And I'm really grateful for that.
You could see the rage coming out. I've seen this look right before he explodes. I've never been able to talk about what it's like to live with my brother. People call him a monster, and it's probably because it's true.